We're going to be tying a caddis pupa here. In the vise we have an Rex FW525 in size 10, and for our thread we are going to be using Simperfly nanosilk in 30 denier. I got a little bit of resin on there and it wiped off. And we're going to start with some 0.03 millimeter lead-free wire. We're going to take about 16 turns. We're going to just pop that off. I'm a little under the weather if you can't tell by my voice here, but no worries. We're going to slide that down. I like to slide it right to where the bend starts, just a little after the start of the bend there. Next we're going to grab our woolly nylon. Now I always push up on this lead to hold it in place. And I'll tell you, a money-saving tip, I don't use regular lead-free wire that you would get at a fly shop. Actually, what I use is soldering wire. It's much cheaper, and if you ask me, I think it's just as good. I'll put a little two-turn whip finish there. Stuff's a little slippery. Right, then we're going to grab our nanosilk, and we're going to start our thread. Come all the way down, catch those in there. Now for the sides, I like to use peacock curl. Some people use thread on the sides. Whatever it is you prefer, this is my method. Get it sized up here. Just catch it in. Now I strip it off to where I can start the thread, but I still like to bring it down. I want some of those fibers popped out when I pull it up. If you strip it too far and there's too much stripped hurl there, you won't get that same effect. Next we are going to grab some latex. And I like to tie it in up towards the top, and then I just stretch it right on down. Now this was a previously colored piece of latex because I did a fly earlier. Alright, and then we're going to grab our other spool of nanosilk. See, I set that one to the side, and we're just going to grab our other one here. Now I'm using these Darnesis Art, and this is the marine green color. And I'm going to color the part that's going to touch the inside of the fly. And then we're just going to wrap this up a little ways here. Now I pull it a little bit tighter towards the rear because I feel that when you pull it tighter and you slowly start to loosen up as you go up, the tighter you pull it, the thinner it is. So when you start loosening up on it, it gives it a nice taper. Whether or not that makes a difference to you, I don't know, but to me, that's the way I like to do it. Then we're just going to catch that in right there. We're going to pull this down here, and we're going to pop it off. I like to make sure we got everything secure. And we're going to put a 3 to 4 turn whip finish. Next, we are going to bring the hurl forwards. Now, I like to lock the hurl on the underside because real caddises are more towards the bottom anyway. Some people do it on the sides. On some of the flies I do it more towards the sides, but for these definitely towards the bottom. And again, this is another simple fly. It's not as complicated as one may think. A lot of people get intimidated to tie realistic stuff, but personally, you know, I think it's easier to tie what you see rather than having to use your imagination to make up variations of something. Alright, and we're going to bring it all the way up to the last little wrap there. And we're just going to catch it in. And then I give it 3 good turns, 2 good turns, whatever. When you feel that it's secure, we'll go ahead and snip the excess off close. Now for the next part, I will take that same latex and I'm going to chip a little V into it. That didn't work very good, did it? You snip a little V into it there. You want to kind of make sure you get this part even. It does matter, believe it or not. I mean, it really does. And then we're going to tie that with the color side facing up. You can adjust it as you go. This latex will move around on you a little bit, and that's alright. You'll notice I came up a little further over top of everything. My latex is setting a little crooked there. No big deal. You just back it off just a little bit, and then you come right back up on top of it. And that looks about perfect. If you're wondering what that sound is, it's me resetting the tension on my automatic bobbin. Alright. Now, for the next step, we're going to grab some Simplify Superfine dubbing. This is a Superfine collection, and we're going to be using the dark brown color. And we're not going to grab much, just a little bit. This stuff gets its name on us because this is some super fine stuff. I love this dubbing. It's one of my favorites. This and K-pop dubbing, they're just exquisite. Now you don't want much for this part. Just a little. We're trying to create a bump for our next part. So we're going to grab 2 Coq de Leon feathers. And I pull from the left side the fibers, I strip them down, and I do this on this side of the fly, and then the other side of the fly I pull from the right side. You can pull the fibers in whatever orientation you want to make them set how you want. I just pull from both sides because it's just the way I do it. I see some people pull from the same side on both feathers. They'll pull the fibers off the left side on both feathers. And that's okay too. So I find it easier if you pull the fibers over and then pull it down. Then we're going to grab it with our finger and we're just going to push up against that bump. Should leave you with a nice looking little wing. Now I don't like too much excess, so I go ahead and cut these off as soon as I tie them in. As long as it's setting where I want it, I snip it right on off. Now I'll grab that, and you know you can maneuver it wherever you need it to go. You can put it there. Then we're going to do the same thing for the other side. So I'm going to pull the right side off. Then I'm going to hold it in my left hand here. And I'm going to pull those fibers downwards. Now, whichever way you can accomplish this, do it that way. It doesn't have to be perfect. You know, you don't have to be perfect with these, especially when you're first learning them. Whatever you can do to get it on the hook and to have it looking decent, that's what you should do. Now, once you get used to tying these, then you can strive for perfection. But when you're first learning them, it's okay to not have them perfect. It really is okay. And these wings are slippery, so just get them where you want them and work your thread up there. Now I like to tie these in before tying the eyes in. I just recently started doing that because they can go everywhere. So it's a little easier to get them tied in before getting those eyes tied in, trust me. Now once you got that setting where you want it, as you see some of the fibers are sticking out, it's no big deal. Not going to worry about that. At least one side of the fly looks good, right? Alright, then we're going to come up here and we are going to cut some fishing string off, which I already did. Now we have monofilament. This is 25-pound tests. I have green. I have some black monofilament on the way. Not sure how that's going to be with the melting part, but I guess we'll see. Then we're just going to melt it down. We're going to turn it over and we're going to melt it again. Got a little cup of water beside you. We're just going to dip it right in that water. And we're going to put it on top of the hook shank. We're going to get that secured. Now, resin and plastic have a not so great relationship, so I don't color this until the very end. And you know, the resin ends up falling off a lot of times when you fish it, but to me, painting them black, it does give me more confidence when my flies look good. And if you have more confidence on the water, we all know having confidence is the key to catching fish. I mean, it really is. If you go out on the water with zero confidence, you're not going to catch anything. So we're going to grab a little bit more of this dubbing here. These fibers are super long. This stuff is so good. Make us a nice little fat dubbing clump here. Dubbing noodle. Clump, noodle, tomato, I guess. Alright. We're going to come over and we're going to pull this over. Now, this part can kind of be discouraging because latex likes to fold. And pulling it between those wings puts a fold in it already, as you can see back there, but this time it went okay. But sometimes it will wrinkle on you when you go to tie it in, and it is very discouraging when it keeps happening over and over. But just work with it and it'll work with you. So then I come forward a little bit and then I pull it back, and there we go. Then we're going to grab some pheasant tail. I'll probably have about 10 fibers here. They don't always have to be the perfect same length either. And I like to measure this to where it comes about 1.5 times the length of the entire hook. You just come up loosely with it. And now if it's not where you want it, just pull it and adjust it. Strap my latex in there. There we go. Then we're going to come up against that bump. And that's what you should be left with, something like that. And then again, we're going to get this fiber snipped very close. I mean, it's obvious that you need a good pair of scissors when you're fly tying. But man, like a good pair of scissors really is just the key to getting that perfect fly. Then what are we gonna do? Yes, add more dubbing. You guessed it. Sometimes you have to wet your fingers to get the dubbing to go onto the hook. I don't use dubbing wax that often. Sometimes I do, but not always. Alright, then once you get a couple little turns there, just put a little bitty thin, really thin dubbing noodle. And we're going to go in and out over the eyes just a little bit. And don't worry about all the excess right now. That, you know, that's neither here nor there. It's going to be cut off anyway. So don't worry about it if you got excess going everywhere. Which in the end, you know, when you go to fish this, the buggier it looks, it probably will help catch fish. I say probably like that's not a fact, but I mean it will. Buggier flies do catch more fish. Okay, this is where it gets a little complicating. So you got to pull it over the eyes and then softly pull that bobbin down. As you can see, it wants to fold. So you got to prevent that from happening. So what I do is I pull it towards me a little bit, and then I cinch it. Alright, then we come back. And then I come over again. Then we're going to pull this really tight. We're going to pop it right off. Next we're going to grab a little bit of pheasant tail. And the color I'm using here is like a yellowish olive. I don't know the exact color on this. I dyed it myself and I cannot place what color it was. But it's a yellowish color. Now you don't want this too long. I like to go about twice the length of the entire hook. Then we're going to come from the bottom and we're going to set it right on top. We're going to pull these to the edges. We're going to stand it up and make sure that those fibers are the same length. Now we're going to whip finish. Now the whip finish I'm doing here is I'm pushing back with each turn. That way I keep my eye clear. And we're just going to push that back, but not too hard because that nanosilk will cut right through that pheasant tail. Once you got that where you want it, we're going to get these snipped off as close as we can here. Okay. Now, I'm going to grab another marker, and this is the chocolate. And we're going to come right down the middle, just lightly. You don't want too much. And right on top. Now on the back part, I don't put much at all, but on the top, I pretty much cover the whole thing. And then I come underneath and I hit that little thread spot right there. Make sure you got everything covered the way you want. We're going to grab some Semperfli UV resin. And I already have my little thing ready here. Now the way I like to do this is first I'll put a little bitty spot of resin on the pheasant tail and I pull it into position. And then I do the same thing on the other one. And this is going to prevent that bulk. You don't want bulk. So that lifted up on me. It happens sometimes. It's okay. Sometimes these pheasant tail fibers are a little difficult to get down, but you get them down. So that's how we put a little bit more resin on it. These fibers are not cooperating here tonight, but again, I've made a bunch of these and they get them down in the end, but when you're first putting them down, they just like to do whatever they want to do. And that's alright. Little renegade fibers. Alright, then you're going to come over top and you're going to hit that spot. Then we're going to work our way back. Now you got to be careful because you don't want the stuff to get, you don't want it to be like a channel in between the pheasant tail and the resin to just run down in it like a little channel. You don't want that to really happen. Now I'll move this out of the way just a little bit to where I can get down in there. And then I'll do one final little pull down there. That looks good to me. I make sure I got everywhere covered that I need covered with the resin. Then we hit it with another cure here. Now with these pheasant tail fibers, you can always pinch them and they'll move wherever you need them. That looks good right there. Now we're going to grab our scissors and we're going to clean it up just a little bit. And like I said, a little bit of bugginess is good. And if you want, you can actually hit it with a little dubbing brush and get those fibers to blend a little bit, but I'm not going to do all that. Now this monofilament will melt, so you got to be careful. But I like to get the fibers around the monofilament without melting it. Then we're going to add some black resin. For the eyes there. This part is optional. Most of this is optional. I mean, you know, these realistic patterns are to each its own type of thing, you know. Whatever makes you feel happy about it, then you should probably do that. But this is the way that I like to do it. And just try not to get the resin on any of those little wayward fibers if you can help it. Alright, just about done here. I'm going to pinch these together one more time. And that's it. There you have it.